So look, I get it. You think Timerra is too much RNG and you don't want to use her. That's fine. But what if I told you there was a solution? What if I told you there was a saline solution? And it's just by simply using a Killer Lance and Wrath, you can basically remove all the RNG. So here's Timerra with just speed +5. Now, right now, she has 63 crit. But if she gets her health low enough, she'll be 93 crit. Roughly 85 to 100 crit when her health is at half. So if she rolls for crits and sandstorms simultaneously, you've got some RNG there. So even though she's only hitting like 8 against these halberdiers, it's converting into 24. Now that she's lost 15 health, she's plus 15 more crit. So let's see what she can accomplish here. So she one-rounded that dude. This is without Lance Power. Now if I want to boost her damage up even more, if I give her Lance Power, her crits are going to hit even harder because it's 3 times the damage, right? So let's dance her. So she's now missing some health. Now I know you're saying, you know, 67, that's not reliable enough. When I do my LTC strats, she's at least 900% crit. All right, so now she's at 78 because she's missing some health. Let's see what she does here. She still rolls for sandstorms too. Alright, there's a crit sandstorm that'll one-shot. So there's 99 damage. So think whatever you like. That's exactly right. Think whatever you'd like. Now, what stat boosters have been used on her? Well, let's go check the convoy. None. None of the stat boosters have been used on her. In fact, I've specifically not used any of them just to, like, you know, test these builds. Now, all of these books are from Welling. I did use all of the starting. So when you have the DLC, the game gives you a whole set of +2 stat boosters and a bunch of SP books. I use them all in Vander. Or it was either Vander or Boucheron, but I'm not using either of them for this run. But that's what I did with those starting items. And you can check her stats. Like, her stats aren't insane right now. They're pretty, like, average. Now, this is on Ike 16. Ultimately, this is going to be a Sigurd build. This is just like the in-between, but this Wrath situation. So even without Wrath, you're looking at 60% chance to crit. And once she gets like Lance Power 2 to 3, that's probably all she'll need. Once she gets that, her crits, you know, it's plus 18 damage. Because Lance Power 3 is plus 6 damage, 6 times 3 is 18. And then that's times 2 if she's doubling. So you have pretty high chances to kill here. But if you can just trigger a single sandstorm when you crit, you will kill anything you attack. But on average, her damage will be very high and her crit rate will be at least 60% with this build. Now, if you use Ike, you can get it to like 90+%. So this is just the early stage of this build, but I'm testing out different builds just for fun. Now, I'm not going to spoil the other builds yet, but you can kind of see some of what they're going for down there. But this kind of, I think, puts to bed this notion that Timerra is this like weak unit, because it's really easy to use the mechanics of the game to push a unit into one rounding, whether it be crits, whether it be might, whether it be, you know, getting high dex for sandstorms or whatever. So let's like check her crit right now. Now obviously against these, she has 93 crit against these, but if she doesn't sandstorm, she's not going to kill them. So here's an example of something where this build doesn't fight it very well.
Here we go.
Now, if she sandstorms, she will kill it. All right, that's a kill. Yeah, sandstorm crits kill pretty much anything. So, all right, let's see what kind of level up she gets. Well, we got strength plus, strength, speed, dex. So more sandstorms, more speed. Let's see if she gets another one just for the hell of it. Just curious. It is possible for her to get these kills in these armors. She just needs a crit sandstorm. And if you noticed, her crit chance right now is 95%. so as long as she sandstorms, she will kill this. All right, so no sandstorm. So she's like, it's 1 in 5 right now, so it's not the highest chance. But this is pretty decent. I mean, she's not even supposed to be killing that, to be honest. The fact that she killed this other one was kind of a fluke. Now, there is a way to kill it. I'll be honest, there is a way to kill it. You have a hammer. There's a hammer. You could crit hammer or sandstorm hammer. So let's just see if she does either. There's a hammer on Ike. You can do that.
Here we go.
with the dual assist.
Let's have some
Oh, she got the crit. She got the crit hammer. All right, so she can still kill armors with a hammer.
whatever you like.
All right, so there's a 2k SP Timerra build that just killed 4 enemies in the opening of Chapter 17 Maddening. That's not bad. No tonics used, no stat boosters used. So all these people, they're like, oh, Timerra's too high investment. It's like, no, she's not. You just aren't using her. You're just not using her at all. And this is proof. I'm gonna keep doing this until people have to admit that she's a good unit. I'm just gonna keep theory crafting builds. And it's not because she deserves it. It's because Picket is a broken class. All right, also, can we talk about something? Here's Jade. Now you might be thinking this Jade's level 17. She was level 15 before she was second sealed, so she's like level 22. And this Timerra is basically around level 22. Defense, all right, so let's just look at her base defense. So base defense of 21, Jade base defense of 26. Jade is plus 5 defense on Timerra, but look at the speed difference, and look at the res difference too. All right, so the res 12, res of 10. So a little bit higher res, slightly lower defense, but she's significantly faster. So this is with a hammer on. Her speed right now is 29 on a weightless weapon, which is insanely fast and pretty much doubles everything on this map. I think it doubles everything on this map, including bosses. Okay, it doesn't double these bosses, never mind. Need a little bit more speed to double the bosses. I could debuff them to double them, but she doubles pretty much every basic enemy on the map, including Gris. So that's a pretty substantial thing. Versus this Jade, who does have Resolve also. So as she loses health, but because she gets doubled, she's just super susceptible to like mages, and her defense isn't so much higher than Timerra's that when she's off tanking, like she takes double the damage because she gets hit twice. So even though she has minus, 5 more damage than Timerra, like if they both get hit for like 10 to 15, Jade gets hit twice and usually takes more damage. So like even against like a general, like a unit who's supposed to be on general, she usually out tanks them. And not even just because of it, like her being on Ike either, it's because of her speed. So like this notion that this is like this high investment unit, like honestly this weapon is really good because it gives her insane crit rate, especially on Ike. But you get really good crit rate. It also reduces the weight of the weapon by 2. It does reduce the damage, but once you get the damage up, you have to view each point of damage as 3 damage. So like you lose, I think, 1 or 2 points of damage, but if you forge it to plus 3, you're plus 1 damage, and if you forge it to plus 5, you're plus 3 damage, which is effectively 9, because that's what, crit calculation would end up being. And I also have this javelin for fun, but I don't think it's decent. It can 1 to 2 range enemy phase. You can also do that on Ragnar, but obviously this is much heavier. Also note that Ragnar does have a little bit of crit, not a ton, but this is a pretty decent. This isn't the final build, by the way. This is not meant to be an Ike tank build. She's just on Ike right now. I was just testing this like killer weapon. So you can get her to 100 crit. You can run her as a main Ike tank crit build that can enemy phase and out tank Panette. So this whole notion that like Panette is like the best crit unit, like she'll kill off of doubling with crits, and then she also rolls for sandstorms as well. I'm pretty sure the Panette crit build can't kill armors, because armors have like, here, let's like pulse just to see how much, or no, there's armors over here, let's see. So like, let's say, yeah, they have, so 35 defense. So Panette, let's say she gets like 50 attack, maybe it kills? If she gets, I don't know if she'd get to 50 attack this early though. I feel like she'd be at, I don't know, like 40 something attack, maybe like 42, 43 attack. So that would get reduced by quite a lot. So she would be critting for like 20 to 30 and not killing these. Whereas if Timerra Sandstorm, she can hit through the armor and kill them, which is just something that only she can do. Now obviously Levin Sword, Armor Slayer, things like this, but Warrior Panette doesn't have access to those. She does have access to a hammer though, so maybe the play would just be use the hammer. But yeah, this is the work in progress Timerra build. I kind of wanted to call this out because I know some people always like throw into question like, oh, her reliability is so bad. But once this gets Lance Power 2 or even 3, and you go for like doubling on basic enemies, like, and by basic enemies I mean like advanced, promoted enemies that you would be fighting in maddening mode. Obviously, if you attack like some mages with Levin Sword builds, it's not going to kill. So if you attack some physical tanks, like generals with low, like average might crit builds. It might not kill them, but against most enemies, you can get like 90 to 100 crit rate with Wrath and then take almost no damage. Now, if you dump the stat boosters into her for her defense, I didn't even use a strength stat boost on her. If you use a single strength stat boost on her, that's +6 damage per hit or +12 damage, because crits are ×3 damage. So each point is +3 damage. So 2 points of strength gives her +6 damage per hit. And then also if you factor in the sandstorming, so if you use like Draco shields and talismans, you make her your main tank. You give her lance power. If you give her lance power 3 and that's all that's it, that's probably good enough to beat the game with. To be honest, someone's like recently called out that they used a Sigurd Timerra build. And I think they had her on like Fensalar, and it was a Sigurd build. Sigurd build wants Brave Lance or this weapon, because you can also take advantage of the momentum from Sigurd. So if you get, you know, +10 damage on your first hit and you have 90 crit rate, like you could run a Wrath build. You could run like Sigurd. You could actually, there's a build you could run that doesn't even use speed. You could use like the momentum damage, because you can get up to +10 damage off of momentum. If you engage with Sigurd, you get +5 move. So you could move 10 tiles and get your crit rate up. So it'd be like Wrath plus Sigurd and lance power like 2. Actually, you might even need lance power. This might be like such a super low investment build. I keep like coming up with weird builds with her because like she has this interesting kit, but technically this would work with anyone. So what you would be doing is you would be leveraging the fact that momentum is giving you damage, right? And you would move X amount of tiles. So by default, Sigurd can give a unit 6 move basically, because, you know, promoted unit class movement of 5 typically. So outside of general, +1 from Sigurd, so you're 6 moves, so +6 damage. So if you hit something once, if you crit it, +6 damage converts into 18 damage. So if you are engaged with Sigurd and you move really far and then you crit something and you get +10 from the momentum cap, because you know you're going to be like 10 move or whatever, I think you get up to 11. So you could potentially hit plus, you know, 11 damage from momentum. When you crit, you're dealing +30 damage. So getting +10 damage from momentum kind of frees up a passive slot. So you could probably just run like Wrath, get her to like half health, and just have her run around like one-shotting things with this weapon, and you can change the engraving. Actually, this is an interesting different build, because then it costs you almost no SP. You just put 2k SP for Wrath, switch her into Sigurd, and then she just kind of becomes like the Grim Reaper at half health, just like flying around, stabbing dudes, one-shotting them, and then like cantoing out. That would be a pretty interesting build, actually. It's low investment. It's 2k SP. The second passive is optional. And you would always have momentum damage. You'd always be +18 damage. So you could run like Killer Lance +5 with like Erica engraving, assuming you're not going to let her get hit afterwards because you're kind of camping at low HP. And if you wanted, you could run Holdout if you want to be like safe. But if you want to play on the edge, I mean, once you get Cancer Plus, you should be able to get out after hitting something. But she would basically be flying around with like near 100 crit rate, poking things for, you know, +30 crit damage, plus her base damage, you know, whatever that ends up being. And also you could roll for Sandstorms, but it would mostly just be off of might and using the momentum. So that's an interesting build we just theory crafted live in the video. All right, so there's 2 Timerra builds for you. One that's a work in progress and a second one that I just thought of right now. And yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.